Hey guys, we have the founder of 1OneFlare in the house today, Marcus Slim. Welcome, Marcus.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
First question, tell us a bit about 1OneFlare.
Yeah, sure. So 1OneFlare is a marketplace for local services in Australia. We aim to connect customers and service providers. So what we want to do is really revolutionize the way directories are allowing customers to hire service providers by allowing customers to come to the site requesting for one single service and then getting multiple price quotes and responses from providers around the area.
So when did you actually come up with the idea?
So I came up with the idea when I was after uni and I just bought an apartment and I needed to get some renovation done. And I've never done any of the, hiring of tradies because that's what my parents used to do. So I found that it was a huge hassle. And back then after uni, I wanted to start a tech company with my mate. I had all these ideas, and then I came up with this idea where we could actually connect, create a marketplace for two parties. And we thought it was a great idea, and we went to do our research, and then from there we just started.
How did you start to build the confidence to do that?
It was more to do with, I think it was just kind of taking one step at a time. We never envisaged where we are today 2 years ago, and it was just all about, okay, let's just start it off as a little pet project, let's see how it goes, and then if it turned out well, then let's continue. And it was just, there were testing times as we progressed or built the product, but it was just kind of taking it one step at a time.
Okay, so Marcus, tell us a bit about what you were doing before 1OneFlare and how that came, and did that help in building 1OneFlare?
Sure. So I used to be a management consultant at Deloitte Consulting. I was there for about a year and a half. And then before that, I just graduated from uni doing commerce and economics. Consulting did really help because we focused on strategy and technology. And essentially it was what I did was basically consulting for different services, different companies in different services. So it could be in finance or it could be in telecommunication. And then it's really about going in there, understanding the business, what their problem is, and then being able to solve it. So management consultants are essentially problem solvers. Yeah. So those skills that I learned in terms of how to solve business problems, I could actually attribute that to a startup. And building up presentations or business cases or business plans, that was very transferable.
Okay, and what are some of the challenges initially that you faced in building 1OneFlare?
Capital, that's massive because at the start you have an idea, everyone has an idea, and some people have more capital than you. You gotta just work with what you have. The real constraint that we had was just capital to start off with, so we had to kind of scrimp together our savings, borrow from family and friends.
Yeah. And was that a very difficult process in trying to convince family and friends that, hey, this is gonna work?
It was, look, I think, I don't know, because I did ask parents for some financial support, but I think for them it was not really about whether the idea worked, but it was more kind of the support that they provided, right? Obviously to a certain extent. Friends, it was a lot harder to convince, but we managed to kind of pull some funds together at the start. The next really set of problems or challenge I would say is finding talent. And that was really hard, and cheaply as well.
How did you go about doing that?
We hired uni students at the start. All the programmers were all uni students, $20 an hour. Find them, at the computer science lab,
hey man,
and just approach them and go, hey, do you do Ruby development? And they said, yeah. I'm like, hey, do you want to try this out? And then they said, yeah, sure. And then just basically went from there. And there was a bit of a churn rate as well. So
are some of them still your clients today?
No, as in, a lot of them have actually come, they've come on to help us out, coded, then left, and they've got grad jobs and other things that they wanted to do. So now we've got full-time Ruby developers on board.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long did that process take from beginning to now?
In terms of coding the product together?
Yes.
Okay, so we basically spent about 9 months kind of building the product. And that was when I was still working, so it wasn't really kind of full time. It was kind of after hours, weekends, public holidays, that sort of thing.
And you don't come from a coding background?
No, I don't.
So how did you know it was heading in the right direction?
So I have a technical co-founder. Okay. So Adam does basically all the front end, looks after all the back end. He, started his own web development company. The funny thing is that he did commerce and law at uni, and
Really related.
Yeah, but he decided to start his own web development company because that was his passion.
Yeah.
So he would just look after all the tech side, and I'd try to look after the business side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you know that this was ready? What was the point when you're like 9 months in, you're like, this is it, this is gonna happen?
I think it was more to do with, the project was quite huge at the start to build everything from scratch. So we had all these milestones in place, and I guess we try to keep to the milestones, and each milestone had certain functionalities and features that we wanted to have in there as the bare essentials.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess after, at the end, the last milestone, we managed to complete those, and then from there we just basically launched it.
Was there a certain startup or company that you were trying to, or you looked up to, or to model?
At the start, I think there were a lot that were kind of, growing really quickly. I mean, I guess if you were looking at the US, I guess back then there was like Airbnb, for example, which is a marketplace for places.
Yeah.
There was Dropbox, but that was very much kind of a software orientated business.
Yeah.
I felt, for me, being inspired to do the startup was really to look at, I guess, inspirational speakers like Steve Jobs, for instance, like the way he talked about building a product, and then being inspired by, for example, what Facebook was doing back then as well.
What have you found that some of the other ones were doing right, and what were they doing wrong?
In regards to
like what elements did you take onto 1Flare?
Yep.
And what didn't you take?
So the one thing that I took from Dropbox was really about starting, done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And really about pushing products out really quickly, testing it, and then see whether it's viable or not, and then if it's not, then take it off.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we did really well with. So that's really important.
Okay. And can you tell us a bit about some of your plans for the future?
The future. Well, the future is really, I think we would like to establish ourselves here in Australia first. Really, we'll try to be a household name. I guess we cater as a local service marketplace. So that's kind of relevant for a lot of different services that we provide, or that people need. So Australia first, and then I guess if we can actually replicate the model into another country, or I guess we grow to a certain size where we think that international expansion is viable,
yeah,
then we'll definitely look at going offshore.
And on that note, can you quickly just run through how easy it is to actually go through the process and find someone?
Yeah, sure. So I actually did that myself 2 weekends ago. I just moved, so I hired a removalist and a cleaner.
Okay.
Basically, put through the request through the system.
So go to the site.
Yep, go to the site. Go to 1flare.com.au.
1flare.com.au.
And
need
then
to be online. Yeah.
Yep, and then put through the request.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a removalist. Put through the requests, and in about 15 minutes, I got about 5 quotes.
Okay.
Reviewed those.
Because it gathers all the quotes for you. So
Yeah, that's right. So because we send out all the emails and SMSs to removalists around the areas, and it's basically first in best dress.
Yeah.
And those quotes were just on the platform right in front of me. Then I could review their price, their reputation,
Okay.
customer ratings and reviews that I've done, and then essentially from there I just hired one of the removalists.
Yeah.
And then he got a notification that says you've been hired. He gave me a call and go, hey, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And then basically I just organised a time with him and he came.
Okay.
And that was it.
And so how does the payment system work in regards to, so after you call them,
Yep.
you just pay them directly, or what does 1Flare take?
Yep, so what we charge is basically a subscription model.
Okay.
So we've got 3 plans, like basic, advanced and professional. And depending on, which plan the business would like to go on, then it will depend on, the type of number of quotes they can actually submit on a monthly basis.
Okay.
So it's a monthly, so it's really interesting. So we're a marketplace, but we charge like a SaaS product. If that makes
Okay,
sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Because if you look at typically like eBay,
Yeah.
where they take a clip on every transaction, or you look at Elance, Freelancer, Design Crowd,
Yeah.
it's all about a clip on a transaction because they're all marketplaces, right?
Yeah.
But for us, because of some of the issues that we have to deal with in regards to businesses and customers dealing outside the platform, we have to charge from in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, in order to kind of track revenue.
Yeah. And has there been some really great success stories in regards to people just really thanking you for the certain service? Can you tell us any stories about that?
Yeah, I think we recently did a customer and business survey, and I guess one of the things that some of the comments that we got was basically there was a lady that had a husband that was married to a husband for like 20 years, and it's quite funny because her husband never really did any of the work around the house.
Yeah.
And then so she stumbled upon our site through Google one day, and she needed to get some fixtures done at home.
Yeah.
She used us, really loved it, and she said, in my 20 years, I've never been able to get my husband to do anything. It was really difficult to get Australia to do anything, but managed to come to our site and managed to get it all done, in a couple of days. So she was really impressed. Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Well, on that note, we'll just leave it up to you guys to check out the site at oneflare.com.au, and you can definitely get anything done pretty much, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Marcus. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks for having me.